Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Nicholas Richardson and this is the news. Television station TVP Info has revealed former Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski said in 2010 that Poland will consider signing a long-term agreement with Russia to buy electricity from a nuclear power plant under construction in the Kaliningrad region. A draft law to create a commission to investigate Russian influence on Poland's security from 2007 to 2022 will soon go before the Sejm. The memorandum, authored by Radosław Sikorski, Foreign Minister in the PO-PSL government, was written less than 4 months after the Smolensk disaster. I stressed the initial interest of the Polish side in the BEA project. I further declared that the Polish side should consider signing a long-term agreement with Russia for the purchase of electricity from this power plant and on the transit of electricity to European consumers. I propose that this topic be discussed at the next meeting of the Polish-Russian Intergovernmental Commission on Economic Affairs. TVP Info's disclosure of documents that shed new light on Radosław Sikorski's activities while he was foreign minister is another argument for the establishment of a state commission to investigate Russian influence on Poland's internal security. Law and justice politicians have announced that the draft for the creation of the commission will be submitted to the Sejm Chancellery later this week, and work on it could begin as early as the next session of the Sejm. We are concerned with investigating any influence of these Russian services on the functioning of the Polish energy sector. We are keen that the Commission be composed of people who have expertise, a great knowledge in this area. The Verification Commission will focus on the period from 2007 to 2022. At that time, the coalition of Civic Platform and the Polish People's Party was in power in Poland, and since 2015, the United Right Coalition. The Commission will be able to ban individuals from holding public office for 10 years, as well as direct requests to relevant institutions such as the Central Anti-Corruption Bureau, the police and the Prosecutor's Office, so that we can eliminate these individuals from decision-making processes, so that we can limit their influence on negative decisions regarding the energy security of Polish citizens. Among other things, the Commission will focus on analysing official actions, potential sharing of information with third parties, influencing the content of administrative decisions, issuing harmful decisions, entering into contracts or disposing of public funds or companies. According to the opposition, the Commission is only a diversionary topic. People are really interested in what the government will do to bring down gas prices, not what happened 10 to 15 years ago. A vetting committee is one to which the government can appoint whomever it wants. Solidarna Polska wants to go much further. It will urge Law and Justice to create a commission with much more far-reaching powers. The best instrument to bring Donald Tusk before the State Tribunal is a commission of inquiry. There is no shortage of material that proves actions that make Poland dependent on Russia. The day before yesterday, TVP Info published a set of theses prepared for Radosław Sikorski in January 2008 for a bilateral meeting with Russian Defense Minister Sergei Lavrov. Poland is interested in stable supplies of Russian oil and gas. We believe that the EU-Russian energy dialogue is conducive to the development of clear principles of cooperation, and we therefore seek to participate actively. One of the most scandalous agreements that the PO-PSL government wanted to conclude with Russia is the one from 2009 to 2010 for gas supplies, for which Deputy Prime Minister Waldemar Pawlak was responsible. It assumed that Poland would be bound by supplies of the gas until 2045. In addition, it was the most expensive of the contracts concluded in Europe. Officers had a few days or a few minutes to familiarize themselves with the various agreements, and these were the kind of Eastern standards by which the Ministry of Economy under Waldemar Pawlak operated. The government, when negotiating strategic supplies of raw materials, should always be guided by the Polish raison d'etat. Unfortunately, for many years, there was a sin of omission or a waste of money. The attempt to sell the Mazykai refinery, the attempts to build a nuclear power plant, which ended only with the distribution of perks to board members. Investigative journalist Piotr Nisztor highlights a number of shady money flows through tax havens that occurred during the PO-PSL government. Multi-billion dollar contracts were concluded by companies with political connections behind them, both on the Polish side and on the Russian side. The Commission will show, in my opinion, the process of selling out Poland's vital interests to the Russian Federation. The State Commission for investigating Russian influences on Poland's internal security in 2007 to 2022 is to consist of 9 members appointed and dismissed by the Polish Parliament. It is to be headed by a chairman elected from among the members. Inflation is falling for the first time since February. The Consumer Price Index, Poland's main measure of inflation, rose 17.4% year-on-year in November, following a 70.9% increase in October. According to Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki, there is already light at the end of the tunnel. Inflation is likely to be on a strong downward trend in the second quarter of next year, he said. This is the first drop in the Consumer Inflation Index in many months. This is what all the actions of law and justice are aimed at. Also, the actions of the National Bank of Poland are aimed at lowering inflation. I hope this is not the only such reading. Soon I hope more will show up, which will indicate a significant trend in the decline of inflation. However, this does not change the fact that inflation remains high. The expectations of citizens are being met by the government, which is trying to make sure that more expensive prices hit the pockets of Poles as lightly as possible. Yesterday, Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki announced the extension of the zero VAT rate on food at least until the middle of next year. This is a very bold decision, but a wise decision. It is in poorer families and less wealthy communities. When a person lives on a lower income, more is spent on food. It can even be several tens of percent. Today, the Parliamentary Committee on Energy, Climate and State Assets dealt with the government's bill on special protection for certain gas fuel consumers in 2023 because of the gas market situation. The beneficiaries of the bill will be private individuals. The basic idea is to freeze gas tariffs for households at this year's level. And most likely tomorrow or Friday there will be a vote and it will be passed. We will then see how long the legislative process will take, because this is all happening very late. It's November the 30th and we're just talking about gas prices. And there is still the Senate and the President's signature along the way. We'll see if this can be accomplished by the 1st of January. Although food prices have increased compared to the previous month, this is the first time since February that we can see a decrease in the annual rate of inflation in Poland. Indeed, from these first data we showed for November, it appears that the rate of price growth has subsided. On the other hand, one should remember what happened a year ago. Those were already the months when they recorded price increases in the range of 7–8%. Several factors in particular contributed to the drop in inflation. On the one hand, external factors are dropping commodity prices, which we've been seeing on the world's market for months. On the other hand, what is happening in Poland? Wages have been below inflation since May. We are buying less than a year ago, although still a lot. These are the elements that have allowed inflation to sleep and to give us hope that no more interest rate rises will be needed. Inflation is forecast to peak in the first quarter of next year. However, we can already speak of a stabilizing trend. For the past 3 months, we can talk about stabilization. Of course, these are some changes that are within the margin of error, but a significant one clearly maintaining a stabilizing trend. It may turn out that after November correction, it will be 17.5. It could turn out that in December, 17.9, and in January it will go back again. But it is a stabilizing trend. According to Central Statistical Office data, fuel prices fell by 1.2% compared to October. On the other hand, prices of energy transporters decreased by a symbolic 0.1%. The CSO will provide more detailed data in mid-December. Intense fighting between Ukrainian and Russian troops is going on near Bakhmut. Photos from the front that appear on social media are being compared to those of World War I. And what is happening on the battlefield? To the bloody Battle of Verdun and the nightmare of positional warfare. Our special correspondent, Witold Nawelic, is in Bakhmut.
The city of Bakhmut can be called the doorway to hell. What I found there evokes fear and horror, completely lifeless. Only dogs wander the streets, and military vehicles of the Ukrainian armed forces pass by quickly. Explosions can be heard from everywhere, and you can see that these explosions are occurring in different parts of the city. It would seem that the Russians are shelling solely to raze them to the ground. I have not been able to reach the eastern outskirts of this city. It's already very dangerous there, while those shells in the center and in the eastern districts are falling. The access road to Bakhmut itself, those last 5 kilometers before the city, is also destroyed by shells. It is known that the Russians are pushing on Bakhmut from 2 sides. These eastern frontiers are very heavily fortified, so this gunfire carried out all the time is probably intended to turn all this to rubble, and it looks like preparation for some big attack. There are practically not many residents left there. I saw one civilian in the suburbs on the eastern side of Bakhmut. This gunfire heard in Kramatorsk, where I stayed, coming from that city, proves that the fiercest fighting is going on. There is no telling what will happen next. The temperature getting lower will allow Ukrainian forces to use mechanized equipment. Perhaps there will be something of a counteroffensive. A counteroffensive is very hard to come by for now. Yesterday, President Volodymyr Zelensky asked for restraint and not to post on social media networks about the situation on the front. We'll see what happens next. The defenders I met there say that the city will not be given up and that the Russians will not take the city. The battle for Bakhmut continues. The fight didn't start yesterday, and it certainly won't end tomorrow.
That's the news. Thank you for watching. Stay with us for the weather, Poland Daily Business, and more programmes. But from me, it's have a good night and a better tomorrow.